I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. Honestly, I thought I had a pretty normal life with Lisa. We'd been married for 5 years, and up until about 2 months ago, everything seemed good. She was sharp-tongued, sometimes bitchy, but I figured that was just her personality. She could be sweet too when she wanted to be. We had some rough patches, sure, but nothing that suggested she was cheating or that our marriage was on the rocks. Then everything started changing. It began with small things. Lisa became more distant, secretive even. She'd come home later from work than usual, and when I asked her about it, she'd shrug and say she was stuck in meetings or helping out a client. I noticed her phone was always glued to her hand, and she'd quickly hide the screen whenever I'd glance her way. She started dressing differently, more revealing, more flirtatious. I caught her looking at herself in the mirror in ways she never used to. Honestly, I felt like I was losing her, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. One particular night, I decided to run a quick check on her phone. I'd never done that before, but I guess the nagging suspicion had taken hold. I knew her passcode, and I just wanted to see if there was anything I should be worried about. Honestly, I wasn't expecting what I found. There were messages, her texting some guy named Jake from her work. The way she was talking to him was just off. Flirty, provocative. She was calling him babe, for God's sake. I couldn't believe it. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept scrolling. There were plans to meet up, even some late-night texts saying they'd take care of each other. I saw pictures, nothing explicit, but enough to know this was no innocent friendship. I was stunned. How could she lie so easily to my face? It was right there in black and white, and I felt betrayed, furious, and scared all at once. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I also knew I had to gather myself. I couldn't just blow up without knowing the full story. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. I felt like I was in some terrible nightmare I couldn't wake up from. How long had this been going on? Did she do this before with other guys? The thought of her being with Jake, of her sharing her body with him, it made my stomach churn. I kept asking myself, how could she do this to me, to us? We had plans, dreams, a life built on trust. And now all of that felt shattered. I sat there, staring at the ceiling, realizing nothing would be the same again. The next morning, I knew I had to confront her. My stomach was twisted all day, but I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I waited until she came home from work, trying to act normal, but inside I was boiling. When she finally stepped into the apartment, I could see the smirk on her face, like she already knew she was getting away with something. "Hey, babe," she said, flopping onto the couch, flipping her hair over her shoulder. "What's up?" I looked at her, my fists clenched. "Lisa, I need to talk to you. It's serious." She raised an eyebrow, her tone already a little defensive. "What is it?" I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone, showing her the messages. "Who's Jake, and what's this about meeting up late at night?" Her face froze for a second, then she let out a breathy laugh like I was overreacting. "Oh, that's nothing. You're so paranoid, just a work thing." I shook my head. "Don't lie to me. I saw the text, Lisa. You've been lying for weeks. You're cheating on me." Her eyes narrowed. "Cheating? Please, Jake's just a friend, and I don't owe you an explanation of my friendships." That's when the bitchy attitude kicked in. She sat up, crossing her arms, her voice sharp. "Honestly, I don't know why you're making such a big deal out of this. Maybe you're just insecure. It's not like I'm throwing myself at him or anything. You're just jealous because I look good and I still have a life outside of you." I felt my blood boil. The way she was lying, the way she was dismissing everything, it made me see her for what she really was. She was hiding something, and instead of owning up, she was just throwing blame at me. I wanted to shake her, to tell her how much she'd hurt me, how much I despised her for pretending everything was fine when she was out there screwing around. But I held back. I needed to think. I sat there, staring at her, feeling a mixture of heartbreak and rage. This wasn't just some fling or a mistake. This was betrayal. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was sleeping with someone else and lying straight to my face. I realized I couldn't go on pretending like nothing had happened. I had to decide what to do next. I knew this was going to change everything forever. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything. The way she looked at Jake's messages, her dismissive attitude, her outright lie about it being just a friend. I kept thinking about the lies she told, how she always had a quick excuse ready, like she didn't care if I saw through her. It was humiliating, honestly. The woman I thought I knew, the woman who promised to love me forever, was out there doing God knows what with some guy from her work. I decided I had to know more. I couldn't just confront her and then let it go. I had to see if there was more to this story. So I started digging deeper, going through her phone again when she was asleep. I found more texts, a pattern of secret messages, late-night calls, and plans. But what really set me off was a message that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. It's been too long." That confirmed it. They'd been sneaking around, probably for weeks. But what really broke me was stumbling upon a photo she must have sent him. It wasn't explicit, but it was enough. Her in the mirror, wearing nothing but a lacy black bra and panties, her lips pouted. She captioned it, "Wish you were here." I stared at it for so long, feeling like I'd been punched again and again. The betrayal cut deep. This wasn't some innocent flirtation. She was actively cheating on me with him. I felt a surge of rage, but also sadness. How did I get here? How did my life come to this? I always thought I was a good husband. I worked hard, paid the bills, tried to be supportive and caring. And she was out there lying, hiding, screwing another guy. I looked at her sleeping face, and for a moment I wondered if I should wake her up, confront her right then and there. But I hesitated. I needed a plan. I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. This was bigger than just a mistake or some fling. She was cheating on me, and I was determined to find out just how deep this went. How long had she been lying? Who else was involved? I was angry, hurt, and feeling more betrayed than I'd ever felt before. I never imagined I'd get to this point, but I was ready to fight for what was mine. I just didn't know how dark things would get from here. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was in knots. I kept thinking about everything I'd found, everything she'd lied about, and how naive I'd been to trust her like I did. I knew I couldn't just sit around anymore. I had to do something. I needed answers, and frankly, I was sick of feeling like I was the fool. First thing I did was get my hands on her phone again. I figured if she was hiding stuff, I'd better look for more concrete proof. I went through her recent calls, her browsing history, everything. That's when I discovered she'd been talking to Jake almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day. It wasn't just about flirting. They'd planned to meet again that very night. The messages were explicit, dirty, and full of promises. I was furious. I felt my blood boiling. I knew I had to confront her face to face. I waited until she came home that evening, trying to keep my composure, but I could barely breathe. She walked in, acting like everything was normal, like she hadn't been caught red-handed. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I knew everything. Her face instantly went pale. "Lisa," I said, voice tight with anger, "how long has this been going on? How many times have you lied to me?" She rolled her eyes, trying to brush it off. "What are you talking about? I don't have time for your accusations. You're just jealous and insecure." That's when I snapped. I pulled out the phone and showed her the messages. "Don't lie anymore. I know you've been screwing him. You're cheating, Lisa. How could you do this to me?" She looked furious, then burst into laughter. "Oh, please, Jake and we're just having fun. You're so dramatic. Maybe I just need someone who appreciates me more. You're boring anyway." I couldn't believe her. Her tone was so dismissive, so full of contempt. She was basically telling me she didn't care. That's when I finally saw what I'd been ignoring. She was a bitch. A manipulative, lying bitch who thought she could just get away with anything. I felt a wave of rage I'd never experienced before. All my love, all my trust had been thrown aside like garbage. I told her I didn't want to see her anymore, that I was done. Her eyes flashed with anger and she spat back, "Fine, if you're going to be like that, I'll just go. Maybe Jake will treat me better anyway." She grabbed her purse and stormed out, leaving me standing there, feeling a mix of devastation and fury. That night, I couldn't sleep again. But now I also felt a strange sense of relief. I saw her for what she really was: selfish, manipulative, and unfaithful. I knew I had to get out of the mess she'd left behind, but I also knew that the damage was done. The trust was shattered, maybe forever. I was hurt, yes, but I was also starting to see that I deserved better. I deserved someone who didn't lie, cheat, and treat me like trash. That realization felt like a small step toward healing, even if it still hurt like hell. After she left, I sat alone in the dark, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything. The house suddenly felt too quiet, too empty, like all the warmth had been drained out. I kept revisiting her texts, her messages, the way she dismissed my feelings. It was like learning she had been lying to me for months, maybe longer. I'd been blind, fooling myself into thinking we had a future. Now it was all a lie. The worst part was how she lied so effortlessly, so convincingly. She'd swear she loved me, then turn around and cheat behind my back. Every word I thought I knew, that I believed, was now suspect. I started questioning everything about her, about us, about what I'd missed. I wondered if I was just a placeholder for someone better, if I'd been stupid to think I was enough. I knew I had to make a decision, confront her, fight for the marriage, or just cut my losses and walk away. Honestly, I wasn't sure anymore. Part of me wanted to believe there was some way to fix this, some miracle that would make everything right again. But deep down, I knew trust was broken beyond repair. In the following days, things moved fast. I decided to get a lawyer, start looking into what it would take to get a divorce. It wasn't an easy choice, but I couldn't keep living in this lie. Every time I saw her face or heard her voice, I was reminded of everything she'd done. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and angry at her, at myself for not seeing it sooner, and at the whole damn situation. One night, I finally told my friends what had happened. They were shocked, but honestly, they weren't surprised. I think deep down, I had been hinting at trouble for a while without realizing it. They told me I deserved better, that I shouldn't waste my time on someone who didn't respect me. That advice made sense. It was time to move on, even if that meant starting over alone, so I started packing up her stuff. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I knew I had to reclaim my life, my dignity. All the little things, her clothes, her jewelry, felt like symbols of her betrayal. I threw most of it out or gave it away. I didn't want anything tying me to her anymore. I needed a clean break. Through all this, I learned something about myself. I learned that I was stronger than I thought, capable of surviving heartbreak and betrayal. I also learned to trust my instincts, never ignore the small signs because they often point to something worse. And finally, I realized that I deserved someone who was honest, respectful, and faithful. Because no matter how much you love someone, if they don't respect you enough to be truthful, it's not worth holding on. Now, here I am, months later, trying to pick up the pieces of a life I thought I knew. It's not easy. Some days I feel angry about what she did, about how blind I was. Other days I just feel numb. But every morning I remind myself that I deserve better, that I'm worth more than someone who can lie and cheat so effortlessly. It's a slow process, learning to trust again, learning to believe in myself again. Looking back, I realize I was never really happy with her, her bitchy attitude, her constant lies, her dismissiveness. I was just clinging to what we had, afraid of being alone. Now I see that staying would have only made me miserable and bitter. Facing the truth was brutal, but it also set me free. I don't regret discovering the cheat because now I know exactly who she was, someone selfish and unfaithful. That clarity is what finally gave me the strength to move forward. I've started focusing on myself, on fixing what I can control. I've joined a gym, reconnected with old friends, and even started dating again. It's terrifying, honestly. Trusting someone after being betrayed like that is hard. But I realize I can't let her actions ruin my future. She's out of my life now, and that's what matters. I refuse to let her define my happiness. What I want to say to anyone reading this is that if you're going through something similar, don't ignore the signs, trust your gut. If someone is lying, hiding things, or cheating, it's better to face it early than waste years giving your love to someone who doesn't deserve it. Love is supposed to make you feel safe, valued, and respected, not betrayed and humiliated. And finally, never forget that you're stronger than your pain. I thought I was weak, that I'd never get past this, but I did, and I will. Life goes on. You just have to choose to fight for your happiness, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Because in the end, the only person who can truly take care of you, who can rebuild your trust and your life, is yourself.